Welcome back, wonderful technologists. Welcome back to the podcast. So, hope you guys are having an amazing week. I can't believe that Thanksgiving is next week. Like, holy crap. This is just crazy how these holidays have just come upon. Before you know it, summer is going to be right back around, you know, around the corner, right? So, hope today is a good day. It's nice and sunny here in Illinois. Just enjoying the beautiful weather before, we get, 20 degrees, I think, next week. So this should be fun. So I'm pretty sure you guys have watched Instagram, me and, my friends, the catheter jockeys. So great group of guys. If you guys haven't listened to their podcast, you guys are missing out. Okay. These guys are amazing. Thank you for the shout out, guys, on your latest episode. And make sure you check out, bought you guys 10 drinks. Okay. So make sure to share that with you guys on Instagram because I forgot to post it. So yeah, catheter jockeys. So we're gonna do a little collaboration on the pod here very soon. So I'm super excited with that. I'm also in the works of doing a little collaboration with Collaboration RA. So been chatting with Marceline. Great. Her and Reese are great people. I think what they do is amazing when it comes to advocacy in our profession and really elevating what RAs really do. And yeah, I'm super excited. Still got to reach out to my girl Prof B. So I will be doing that. It's just mom life, work life, home life. I got to get my priorities together, guys. Okay. So I will be doing that and making sure I reach out to you guys about that. So in today's episode, we're going to do the series that I created. We're going to do some CT trauma stories because I've got an interesting one this week. So this story happened right in the middle of COVID. Okay. I have a ton of trauma stories during COVID. Oh my God. That's why I freaking put this series together to at least do it at least once a month or every other month, because I have a bank of stories that I could tell you in CT. Okay. So this particular case, it was in the summertime, right in the middle of the pandemic. Like, we were just knee deep into that. Okay. I'm pretty sure most of you remember. So this case was a motorcycle crash. So they had airlifted this patient from Indiana to our trauma hospital. So the trauma hospital that I work at, we are so, we're not far from the Indiana border that we will take patients at least 50, 60 miles away because there's not another trauma hospital within that vicinity from Northwest Indiana to where we're at. So, I mean, they could be like almost to the other border by Michigan and they will get airlifted to the trauma hospital that I work at. Okay. So this patient was on his motorcycle. Now, I'm going to remind you, and I know I've said this in another podcast episode, Illinois and Indiana are no helmet states. So you're not required to wear a helmet while you're on a motorcycle, which I am highly against that. That is my personal opinion. And I know some of you listening out there, you might have a difference of opinion, but this is just my own personal opinion. Because after I tell you the story, if it changes your mind, great. If it doesn't, it's fine. So he was on his motorcycle. He was in a certain area going down one of the most common expressways that goes into Indiana and Illinois, and was intoxicated, was not wearing a helmet or any body gear, and crashed into a semi and got thrown. I mean, he was ejected off the bike, and they airlifted him to our hospital. They went ahead and were working on him. They had ordered all the CTs, an entire pan scan, CTAs, the whole 9 yards on him because he had a lot of injuries. So I remember one of the nurses I worked at really good nurse. Awesome. I miss her because her husband is actually a physician. So now they're living in another state. So she had called me. She says, hey, we have this trauma that, it's a motorcycle crash. We need to come to CT. The patient's chest is open. So I'm thinking, sometimes, when they come out of surgery, they'll have like an open chest, but it's like draped. So I'm thinking that. And she says, no, Karina, like this guy's chest is open. I said, okay. So I'm thinking, okay, she's just, reiterating that this guy's chest is open. So all of a sudden the doors to CT open, and I shit you not, almost the entire team, like the entire ER department, was in our CT scanner. So we have a 256 where we do all of our traumas. We do all of our hearts, TAVRs, traumas, because we can execute it really fast. I kid you not, almost every nurse that was scheduled in that ER that day was in our freaking CT room. Okay. Like it was packed full of people. We had the 2 trauma attendings. We had about 8 residents. There was at least 8 or 9 nurses, like 5 respiratory therapists. Like this guy was really critical. And so the residents like, okay. And so all of a sudden we get the patient on the table, and I notice that the patient has this gaping hole. And so the resident tells me, because this resident, I've worked with him for a long time, and he tells me, he says, yeah, he goes, I'm going to be standing in the room because I have to massage the heart. So they did a thoracotomy where they removed his left lung. And what I saw is you could see his heart beating, and it was like barely there. So he was like massaging the heart in between when we were scanning, right? So I was just like, she wasn't shitting me. His chest is literally open. Like they just, they did a thoracotomy and they brought him over with an open chest. He had an open hole in his chest and you can see the heart. So I go ahead and do all the CTs, do all the pan scan. And because in that room, you can execute it quick. And I'm just quick when it comes to all that stuff. So, I mean, he had a ton of injuries, a ton of fractures in his face, major head bleed. I think C4, 5 completely fractured, had, T-spine fractures, L-spine fractures. His pelvis was shattered, had multiple extremity fractures. Like this guy was a hot mess, okay, because he got ejected and they weren't sure what his prognosis was. So then after we got him done off the table, went straight to surgery. He went to the surgical trauma unit. He unfortunately ended up coding and passing. So the nurses were massaging the heart up there in the surgical trauma unit. And unfortunately, the patient, they couldn't even donate his organs because he passed away so quick. And it was the result of being intoxicated on a motorcycle with no protection. So one of the most interesting cases I have ever done in my entire career as a radiologic technologist, which it's 22 years now, 20 years as a CT tech. Things I'm telling you, working in a trauma hospital, nothing is ever boring. It will keep you on your toes, and it's like, holy shit. Like after that case, I just couldn't scan another patient because I had to like put myself back together and said, what the fuck did I just see? Because I had never seen anything like that. Like I've had patients who have come down with an open chest and everything, and it was not as extreme as that, where they literally came over and the guy had a hole in his chest. So very interesting story. Unfortunately, it didn't have a good outcome because of the injuries and just that he was intoxicated. And it just, I'm telling you, it's just one of those cases that you will always remember. So hope that was a good story. If you have an interesting story, in CT, like email me. I would love to hear it, or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I always love to hear stories when it comes to CTs on interesting things, because some of these patients keep us on our toes. And, You never know what you're going to encounter because every day it's something new. It's something different, whether you're an X-ray, ultrasound, MRI, IR, cath lab, doesn't really matter. It is something new. And some patients will shock you with some of the things that they do or some of the things that you see. So, all right. So that kind of wraps up this episode and hope this was a good story for you. So CT trauma stories, it's usually a series that I do every single month. I try to do every single month or every other month where I go ahead and give you the best trauma stories that I have in, my career. So just to kind of share some of those things that I've seen over the years. So if you're interested, send me a DM. Love to hear your story. Send me an email. Always love to hear that. If you're interested in any CT courses or anything to kind of help you out, if you're a beginner, need a refresher, want to learn something, I got some awesome courses and resources on my show notes that I'll leave all the links on. So you can kind of get yourself on board on that and get yourself some education. I will be coming out with some more things, probably some new courses for 2024. And because we're kind of wrap up 2023 and take a short break for the holidays because I need some rest and relaxation. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, this series of CT trauma stories, and I will chat with you guys next week.